Foreign Secretary there was making the point that in the minds of some people, I imagine quite a few people at the Foreign Office, it does seem to them and others that the Chinese government uses this Belt and Road Initiative as a way of putting client states, developing countries, on the hook. They become indebted, they borrow too much, and then they're in hock to the Chinese, not just economically, but politically too.
Well, good afternoon. That's absolutely right. What the People's Republic of China is embarking on and has been for the best part of a decade is a sort of neo-colonial policy where they are seeking to get dependence of typically developing countries, but not exclusively, some in Europe as well, on them financially and for support for infrastructure projects, public services and the like. And then they are in China's sphere of influence. So this is a deliberate policy of Beijing to try and, I would argue, spread its malign influence around the globe. And it's right that Britain does what it can, particularly in conjunction with other democratic allies, to check that. We don't have much more time to do that.
Yeah. The other element of the reforms announced today concerns where the money goes. And at the moment of that budget I mentioned, 3 or 4 billion of it goes to big multinational organisations, the UN, the World Bank. And we're moving away from that, it seems. We're going to do more of what we're seeing at the moment, for instance, on the borders of Ukraine, where we have a bilateral aid relationship with, say, Poland. Poland, here's some money, help with the humanitarian situation in Ukraine. And we're cutting out the middleman. No UN involvement, no EU involvement, no World Bank, directly bilateral.
Well, that's a positive trend. Certainly when we were members of the European Union, we'd send vast sums of money to Brussels that would then rebrand it as European money and redistribute it around Europe, and everyone would say how wonderful the EU's largesse. And essentially that's happening with international aid funding through the UN, the World Bank, the World Health Organization. I think that's another one we need to discuss the future of. And it's British taxpayers' money that's then branded as these international institutions supplying support for people, and we lose control of exactly how that money is spent, and it means that some very nefarious regimes around the world could potentially be using British taxpayers' money against the British interests. So it's absolutely right that first of all the government reduced the international aid budget, and now it is right that we are more directly funding projects that are in the British national interest, whether in terms of security and trade.
Henry Smith, what do you say to those people, including some on your own backbenches, who say, oh, it's a nice conversation you're having about the UN and multinationalism, but actually 12 billion quid right now, that is equivalent. You could cancel the rise to national insurance. I'm about to talk to a guest about inflation, just hit a 40-year high. We all know that, and we're talking about it all the time, the cost of living crisis. In one stroke, you could vastly improve the circumstances of millions of British families by having a moratorium on foreign aid.
Well, I have some sympathy with that, and I think that the government should be looking at further reducing the foreign aid budget. As you said in your introduction, it's gone down from 0.7% to 0.5%, but as well as directing it and focusing it more to support countries that are a security and a trade interest for us. I do think we need to look at the totality of the budget as well. When it was 0.7%, and at the time I was on the International Development Select Committee in Parliament, which scrutinised the government spending in this area, as you got towards the end of the financial year, they were shoveling the money out of the door just to spend it. That is no way to conduct the public finances or foreign policy of this country. And therefore, we need
Henry Smith,
really get more.
Welcome to the GB News YouTube channel. You can watch us live 24 hours a day, catch up on your favourite shows, and join in the conversation in the comments below.
Don't forget to subscribe and you'll never miss any of our exclusive content.